Welcome to Daikaiju Network's commentary of 1933's King Kong, a movie that, come this March, will end up being 88 years old. I am your co-host, Pint, and with me is your other co-host,
Jason. What's going on, everyone?
And Lincoln. So this commentary was selected by Jason for our first couple months worth of doing commentaries to start off the new year, to do something fun, and just kind of explain maybe why you chose this one.
Well, one of the things I chose is that we haven't talked about any of the Kong movies for many years. I would say 8 years since the last time was when we did Kong Month on the 80th anniversary.
We did Kong Skull Island as a commentary, I think, in 2018. Yeah. I think 2019. Yeah.
I can't quite remember, but the last time we talked about this movie was 8 years ago for Kong Month, and for our regular discussions and everything. And I thought it was sort of high time to do it this time around, but not only that, we also get the new upcoming movie that you see down below in the ticker, Godzilla vs. Kong, which hits theaters in a couple months. And also, speaking of which, we're going to also talk about the trailer, which just released here just a little over an hour ago. And we'll be discussing about that. I'm not sure if you want to talk about that before or after we do the commentary.
Might as well just do it now, actually.
Okay. So let me sort of bring up the cam here for the trailer. And I'm just going to play this a little bit slowly. And let me minimize that window here and just mute that off. And sort of one of the beginnings here that we get is sort of a huge explosion. It seems to be on the mountainside, and I'm guessing that this is a Hong Kong. And one of the things I want to show right here, there is something right here that a lot of people have been talking about, and one of the things that I'll mention later, that this could actually potentially be Mechagodzilla, the way it looks, because when you move it a little bit more, it seems to be more robotic, and with Godzilla, there's no red with him. Go ahead, Kat.
I'm putting this theory out right now, and I don't know if you saw it on my Facebook or not yesterday, Jason, but I'm putting this out here now, and to my knowledge, I'm the only person who has brought this theory up. Here's what I think is going to happen. I'm going to say right now, the trailer at the moment has us believing Godzilla's the bad guy, Kong's the good guy, and we see like another one or two kaiju in the trailer, minus this. Mm-hmm. Here's a theory that I think might play out, and I could very well be wrong on this. Because the trailer's saying Kong's the good guy here, Godzilla's the bad guy, they despite the trailers, the trailer and the poster saying one will fall, to me, on some level, the movie's going to toy with that and have both of them live to some extent or walk away. Here's what I think is going to happen. Kong will end up either completely killing Godzilla or have him on his deathbed. And then as a result of that, because of something else, some other kaiju that Kong's going to need help with, mankind is going to turn Godzilla into this cyber Godzilla. That's a theory that I think could play out.
I'll sort of give my theory at the end on this one, but let me continue on here. So we get, basically Khan laying on his side here in the boat and everything that we see here. And just from the looks of it, if we get to the next scene here, he looks a bit sedated. And I'm not.
Who's that gal?
But one of the things that I like to mention is that I know there's a lot of mentionings about Monarch and the supposed other corporation or research type of company. I'm not entirely sure who. It's called Apex Cybernetics, I think. Something else. But the one thing that I want to mention when it comes to Apex is that this movie's code name was Apex, and there's a lot of talks and even sort of things that mention Apex within this trailer. So my understanding that Apex within this movie is the key to, for me, I would say the key to everything of what's been going on. And we'll sort of get to the specific scene of what I was talking about here. And let me just go over here. We see Khan chained up. We get some of the military people and the like. And then, of course, we get this one little girl. Apparently, she's going to be sort of the link between humanity and Khan himself within this. And, of course, we've seen this little thing here from the TV spots. And then, of course, in this one, we start to hear Godzilla's moans and howls and everything. And then, of course, this in my opinion, this one was pretty awesome of him ramming right into this military ship here. And one of the things that's pretty interesting is that they do the Halo jump music blended in with some of the other music in this trailer here. So, and of course, military attacks them. So then Godzilla and Khan encounter for the first time. And then Godzilla coming up to the military seacraft here, or aircraft.
And we're missing out on some audio where at one point, I think it's going to come up here in like a few moments, where a gal says Godzilla's attacking humanity and we don't know why.
I think that's Mark Russell, the character that asked that question. And then, of course, you get that this whole money shot here that we've seen over and over.
It's even on a lot of the toy packaging.
Yeah. And then see the incredible strength from Khan here, just pushing Godzilla off from the aircraft carrier here. And one of the things that's pretty interesting here that Godzilla unleashes his atomic breath towards the aircraft where King Kong was and just decimates it. And just look at the atomic ray and compare to Khan, his statue right there. That's
Anybody
freaking
want roasted ape?
that's freaking huge. And then, of course, and one of the things that, in my opinion, that, you know, with your theory, I disagree with that.
Like I said, I very well could be wrong.
Because from what I've heard and everything for months is that the Hong Kong scene, which is what this is right here, is, I think, the final bout and everything. And of course, here's Godzilla right here, obviously. And one of the other things 2 is that this is a facility right here. It's not Hong Kong or anything that Godzilla attacks. And one of the things I want to talk about is this scene right here, if I can bring that up. So this scene right here, I'm not sure if you can see a lot of it clearly, but there's a lot of stickies around here that talk about Apex. So here, like over here, Apex number 2, Apex facility number 2, Godzilla attack number 3, Apex, Godzilla attack, Apex. A lot of these facilities of Apex and where Godzilla attacks are pretty damn close to one another. And you got Godzilla attack, got a connection connection between Godzilla and Apex. So one of the theories I want to talk about is that, to me, I think Apex is sort of a company that could be manipulating Godzilla, or having to do something that they're doing where Godzilla does not like what they're doing and trying to get rid of what they're doing. So go ahead, Kat.
One of the things I want to remind everybody, because I just remembered this. Remember at the end credits of King of the Monsters, that eco-terrorist guy. Mm-hmm. They salvaged one of the heads of King Ghidorah. Maybe that will finally play out in this film.
Maybe he could. Yeah, either that, or he could have been someone that worked with Apex. That could be something too. Like he's some sort of corporate espionage or something, trying to get information or technology for Apex.
I just hope that scene plays out. I'm not necessarily saying that we have to have Mecha King Ghidorah, but what I'm saying is they're able to extrapolate at the very least with the King Ghidorah head, whether it's DNA or a way to manipulate flesh or something like that, or to control these things. That should pay off in some form is all I'm asking in this film.
And like in this few scenes where we hear Millie Bobby Brown, is that there could be something that we don't even know about in that regard. And one of the things, and this one here, to me, from what this looks like in some of the other scenes, is that Khan is in the Hollow Earth, as we see. And if we can get one of the shots here, this is one of the Hollow Earth vehicles that we see. And then from what it looks like, the atmosphere and some of the mountains that are upside down, with all the Hollow Earth theories that we see with a bunch of these mountains sort of upside down and everything. And one of the cool things that we know, and this one right here with him holding the axe and everything, in my opinion, he doesn't actually make it. He finds it from one of the other cons that, what we see with one of their handprints.
Going back to the Kong Skull Island graphic novel, that was sort of a prequel, that his folks battled all those skull crawlers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then one of the cool things that we see here is the war bats that we see here, or I forget what was the other name, the Nozuki or Nozui, something like that. But these are.
But yeah, there was more of an actual proper noun given to it.
And then one of the other things to confirm the Hollow Earth thing for this movie is that we see all the mountains and stuff up in the sky here, sort of say. And then one of the other things here, of course, we see Godzilla here facing against Khan. And I think one of the things from this one here, in my opinion, I think this is when they face each other either in Miami or Pensacola, Florida. And And then this one here, I think these things that fly down on Khan here, I think it's one of those. I forget the specific name of this bat. It was one of the Khan prequel graphic novels. I think it starts with a C or something of the sort. So yeah, it flies down. And one of the cool things that we see right here with Khan right here is that we get this sort of pattern that's what it looks like sort of a design of Godzilla, maybe made by the ancients or something of the sort that have gone down into the hollowed earth here. And let me try something else here.
For whatever reason, your presentation screen on the live feed kind of pops in and out, so I'm not always able to just stay on top of it with you.
But yeah, so this is basically the money shot right here with Khan and Godzilla, and with Khan with the axe going towards Godzilla, jumping in the air. And I'm not sure if Godzilla was sort of, well, no, in the one of the scenes here when Godzilla is blasting his atomic ray here, that Khan has the axe right in front of him, and it's sort of funny how the axe, I'm guessing from an old Godzilla dorsal fin, probably from the skeleton that he found.
Oh, good point.
And the hollow earth is already glowing before the atomic breath goes up against it. And so we see that there, and it charges up. I think probably one of the things what I thought about before the trailer was released, I thought Godzilla was strategically going for the axe, knowing that it has like the same look and familiarity to his dorsal fins. I thought he was strategically going or aiming at that to possibly overload the dorsal fin, because his dorsal fins, from a lot of people, say that it can be a conductor to hold the atomic ray power and trying to concentrate or evenly distribute from one another. And I think my initial thought was that he was trying to aim at the axe to overload that dorsal fin and to destroy it in a way. And that could be somewhat plausible, but I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen. But once Khan goes down there and everything, and I think once we see that explosion there, I think right then and there that the axe could potentially bust at that point. But yeah, after that, you get the title credit, and then the trailer's essentially over. So, with you having to just see this trailer, well, actually, before we get to that, there is one thing that I want to point out. You see this back here?
I can't know, because once again, your live feed just went. Okay, I have to open up like the chat window. What am I supposed to look at here? Oh, then it disappeared again.
Well, on the top left corner.
Top left, I see something there. Yeah,
this could
like a body of some sort.
From my guesstimation and from what other people have guessed, that this could be Mechagodzilla right here, because you got the feet here and the arms, everything right there, and the feet just looks almost looks like Godzilla's, but just more robotic and everything. And then this guy here, from what we've heard, that this guy plays as Serizawa's son, Ren Serizawa.
Oh
And just the
boy.
way everything looks and how things are going, I think he works for Apex, and he could potentially be the antagonist to this movie. And one of my theories, sort of going off of yours, that I just came up with the eco terrorists having to proclaim Ghidorah's head, maybe that they could have used that Ghidorah's brain, or maybe some of the other elements from that blown off head of Ghidorah's, that they could potentially implement it within this Mechagodzilla and sort of go off that way.
It
But
could. Yeah, very well could.
either way, what are your initial thoughts after seeing this
Um,
trailer for the first time not long ago?
well, kind of like I told you immediately during my viewing of the trailer was that, and we will get to the commentary soon here, folks. My thing was that I went from being very excited to all of a sudden now I'm actually pretty down on it. And the reason why I'm saying that is because, kind of once you get roughly midway through the trailer, you start seeing these jets attack Godzilla and then how Kong is the key and all that. And it's depicting Godzilla as the villain. Even though there's a couple of lines at best that talk about Godzilla is going nuts on humankind. They're not sure why. I'm just kind of sick of this whole giant ape. They're going to be the good guys because they are more closely related to human beings, and therefore anything that's a reptile is a bad guy. And granted, this trailer hides an awful lot. It gives you some little quick Easter eggs and all that stuff to kind of, like we just did. If you slow it down enough, you can find some of them. And I understand that there's a very good possibility there's several big key story elements we just won't know about until we see the film. And who knows, maybe Godzilla on some level will triumph or be a good guy as well as we progress through the movie. But taking it as it is, just going off of what I've seen, it looks fun. Annoyed and down at the fact that, again, it's Godzilla is looked upon as the villain. And we got that in King Kong versus Godzilla in 1962. I understand in many ways they're going to at least play with that for a decent part of this film. I would like to see someone and kind of mess with the story and do it the exact opposite of what they did in 1962 and make Kong the villain, a good guy. And I understand that there's a whole lot we don't know and all that and what have you. And the title or the tagline of this film is "One Will Fall." I'm 50-50 on that. Part of me thinks that is true, that one of them will end up dead. Another part of me thinks that no, that's just some sort of tagline to get butts in the seats and what have you. And it's not going to play out like that. So, I mean, my initial thoughts are if it is something that they will play out, initially I think, oh, they're going to kill Godzilla. Because again, like I said, part of my theory is that maybe Godzilla turns into that cyber Godzilla, perhaps. Thinks that maybe Godzilla and Kong will team up against something bigger and badder, and that Godzilla is going to end up getting the brunt of the damage and end up dying like near the end of the battle, and then Kong finishes it off. Or team up and defeat, and then Kong is the one who gets badly hurt and then is the one that ends up dying immediately at the conclusion of the battle.
Well, for me, when it comes to these versus movies nowadays, I think they're gonna more or less sort of tie with one another. But from what I've heard it from some of the other people and all that, but just sort of take it with a grain of salt that that within this movie, from what I've heard, that Godzilla will eke out winning just by slim margins. But with this, potentially, if I can uh, get to this one particular shot right here, with this potentially Mechagodzilla in the background on this computer or monitor screen here, that I believe with Serizawa's son potentially be a antagonist in this film, that I think that they're going to team up towards the end battling against Mechagodzilla here. Because I know within the synopsis over at the new GodzillaMovie.com, which just got updated when the new trailer dropped just about an hour and a half ago. And I know that the synopsis has been around for some time about something trying to wipe out all of the Titans or something like that. I'm going by verbatim. I'm not doing an actual quote or anything. I'm just trying to figure from the top of my head, as far as I know. So I think this could be the thing that's supposedly be the answer to wipe out or control all the Titans, is this new supposed Mechagodzilla. That could be my theory of what this whole entire movie is going to go on. Is that obviously Godzilla and Kong are going to duke it out, and I think one of them is going to eke out a win. Both of them don't die. But then there's a third anomaly that comes into play, and both Godzilla and Kong, in my opinion, would team up to battle against what could be Mechagodzilla. That's my theory.
Yeah, I hope you're right. Again, if I had it my, because I love these characters so much, and even though if you put a gun to my head and you said, okay, you have to pick one to perish, who would you pick? And immediately I would say Kong. Even though with today's technology and everything, it would be very sad. No, don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it would be a lot more sad than if you saw it in '62 with that goofy suit that they had going there. The thing is, though, I am like you, and this is something when I heard that this movie was officially greenlit, kind of like you, these studios don't have the cojones to give you a clear-cut winner. I mean, this goes all the way back to 1943 with Frankenstein meets the Wolfman. Arguably, a lot of people's a lot of what people say being the first sort of crossover, combat head-to-head of two major characters. And even then, that movie ended up with both of them losing, however you want to call it. And then you had AVP, more or less a tie. AVP Requiem, basically a tie. Freddy versus Jason.
Yep.
Kind of looks like Jason won, but then Freddy gives you a wink at the end before the credits come up.
Batman versus Superman.
But yeah, Batman versus Superman. They bring it out as ties when at least those two characters come together. So yeah, I mean, I still believe on some level that it's going to end up in some sort of draw, and that's that. But if again, I still go back to the tagline of this film that one will fall. Again, if I'm going to take that seriously, I have to assume one of them will end up dead by movie's end.
Yeah, and
not saying like Godzilla will kill Kong or Kong will kill Godzilla, but maybe in a bigger battle against a bigger baddie,
Well, and then the movies that you mentioned earlier, it's like most of those consist of huge like culture icons, and same goes with Godzilla and Kong here. Both of them are huge culture icons.
Icons, yeah.
And most of these pop culture icons, when they face one another in these movies, yeah, they essentially tie. So in my opinion, I think it's going to still go in that route, but still maybe one of them barely ekes out a win. And I think, in just my humble opinion, that Godzilla could barely. And one of my reasons is that this is a sequel movie to Godzilla King of the Monsters, not Kong Skull Island.
Well, in
And
a
it's,
way, it is a sequel to that. It's just many decades after the fact.
yeah, but this one is still technically a Godzilla movie in its own right.
Well,
So,
same thing as it being a Kong movie in its own
yeah,
right, too.
yeah. But with that being said, I still think that um, it's still going to be one of those movies when big pop culture icons face one another that it still could wound up a tie. And with that whole "one will fall" tagline, I know a lot of those sort of similar taglines have been used, and in my opinion, I think it's just a bait. It's
Well, yeah, it
In my
very well
opinion, it's
could
a
be.
bait.
And we won't know, though, until we see it.
Hmm.
That's the thing. I mean, if you as Warner Brothers and Legendary are trying to get me hooked and really wanting to find out who is going to fall, then yeah, you've got me hooked because I'm like, oh crap, like which one is going to fall? And it may end up either one. So, you know,
Hmm. So,
again, we won't know until we see it.
mhm. So with that, is there anything else you want to touch upon for this trailer, or should we move on to our meat and potato of this episode?
Yeah, we've spent 40 minutes nearly on this. My final thought just is a quick thing of this. I'm still excited about seeing the film, but I am disappointed and a bit saddened that at least with what I saw in the trailer, it appears as if Godzilla is going to be depicted as the villain. And I know that's going to be true to some degree in the film, but part of me is afraid that, again, following the tagline, if one's going to fall, I fear that it might be him. And so that's
And
all I have to say. It looks fun, it looks entertaining, but I am a little disappointed and saddened at the possibility that if one's going to die, it's going to be him.
and then my final thoughts on the trailer itself. That, in my humble opinion, just don't look too deep into what's
Right.
being displayed within this trailer. It's like a lot of times when it comes to these trailers, they're always deceiving, and that they don't initially point out of what's actually going to happen or what's going on until the whole movie is released. But with that said, I think there's more to it than meets the eye, and I think there's a reason why Godzilla is going the way he is. Because in one of the other scenes where he was attacking this area with his atomic breath, it was at a facility, and then this map of the globe with all the dock connections and everything, that there's a lot of these sticky notes with Apex facilities, number 1, 2, whichever, and then Godzilla attack number 3 or 4 nearby these sticky notes. So there could be some sort of connection of Godzilla attacking Apex specific facilities of what they're actually doing,
And
or
quick
could be a manipulation of some sort with Apex. In my opinion, that Apex could be the key in this entire film.
And one more quick question, and then we probably should move on here to our commentary. We should have done this as a separate thing here. One more quick question. All those kaiju we saw at the end of King of the Monsters, you know, that other Muto, Rodan, and some of those other titans, will we see all of them, and I mean all of them, return in at least some capacity here? Like, yeah, at the very least, going to see Rodan again.
Um, that's
Because I haven't
that's the
seen
que-
toys of Rodan.
that's the question, and we didn't see any of those familiar kaiju that we saw in the previous film in this trailer, but they could be within the movie once that movie comes out. But as of right now, it could be up in the air at this moment. I mean, as of right now, we got that vampire like bat that's could have been in the Khan prequel comic books, and as well we saw Warbat, couple of the Warbats within that Hollow Earth battling against Khan there. So those are the only ones that we know of outside of both Godzilla and
Skullcrawler
Khan.
should show up at some point too, because I made a figure of that.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not entirely sure if we saw any within that trailer. If so, they're probably hidden quite well within that. But um, either way, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing this movie and see what actually plays out.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get that on the schedule too, so we can discuss it after it comes out in late March.
Yeah, definitely. I maybe say on the day or the day after.
I would say day after. That way we get a full like, because I think it's not coming out on HBO Max. If Wonder Woman 84 was any indication, it may not come out on HBO Max till noon on the 26th.
hmm Yeah. So until then, that's all we're gonna talk about for Godzilla vs Kong for right now.
Yeah, this should have been a separate segment. But
Yeah.
anyway, here we are. Speaking of King Kong, the original one, starring Fay Ray and Robert Armstrong and a host of others, and the one that helped to inspire one of the two monster films that helped to inspire Godzilla, King Kong.
Woo! The original.
All right. So both Jason and I have the edition where there's like the 4 or 5 minute overture at the beginning. However, we're going to skip that. So what we did is we went to the scene selection, our DVDs and Blu-rays, and we have selected the credits and forwards, the chapter 2.
Yeah. And this is the edition that we got of the Kong. He's got the DVD version, and I've got the Blu-ray version. So this is the one that we're looking at right now.
Yeah. So we're going to skip the overture. There's really no point in having that up.
Nope.
And so we're just do the credits and forward. So that's how we're going to do it. Let me unmute here. Oh, I guess I did have it off. Okay. Okay, so are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay, so I'm going to go 3, 2, 1, go. When I say go, that's when we hit the select button. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, go.
All right. And then let me get the commentary cam on, so you won't have to see us throughout the entire thing with us just doing random shit. Radio Pictures presents
Kingu Kangu. I thought about going through. Crap, I don't have. Hey, Lincoln, can you hand me the DVD case there, please? I thought about going through. There's like an extensive behind the scenes. Was it? Yeah, 7-part documentary series on the making of this. I just didn't have time, so I wasn't able to go through with it. But my understanding, because I've listened to one other podcast, it was one of the movie podcasts that I listened to. They were covering some of the Kong films, and obviously this is the first one they covered. Co-host went through the documentary and was they spent a good like 45 minutes just on that podcast talking about some of the behind the scenes stuff, and it was very extensive. And all I can remember was, I believe, certain like Marion C. Cooper was kind of this big adventurer and all that. And so this film in some respects is sort of I guess an homage to his hunting and adventurous expeditions, I guess, for lack of a better phrase.
Well, I know Cooper. He made a lot of those animal type flicks before Kong, and I think that it sort of goes along that of what you were talking about. But yeah, it's like,
Well, and two, this movie was expensive. In fact, it went over budget. And I think if I remember correctly, it ended up being somewhere around 500,000, I think, which of course for 1933 standards, what, 4 years after the start of the Great Depression, that's
mhm,
a lot of dough.
yeah. And for those that have that Blu-ray edition or possibly the DVD version of this movie, of the cover that I showed you, I'm not sure if your blue DVD has it, but my Blu-ray version, it has this built-in booklet that talks about the movie itself. I don't know if you can see that
I don't think
on
so.
the
Can you hand
screen,
me the case again?
and yeah,
When I bought these, oh,
it discusses about things up close and personal,
nope.
like this one page here where it states in early 1933, the darkest period of the Great Depression, about 25% of the labor force in the U.S. was unemployed, and patronage at movie houses had fallen dramatically, with many theaters shutting down. President Franklin Roosevelt was about to close every financial institution in the country in order to avert a panic and to push through an emergency banking bill. And that's just one of the pages talking about what went on in the year 1933, and then just goes about talking about Marion C. Cooper here and showing some really great pictures of the movie. Uh, yeah, it's a really great booklet if you have this particular uh, Blu-ray version of Con, which came out several years ago. I think I got it before we did the Con month 8 years ago.
Gosh, that's hard to believe it was that long ago.
Yeah.
I still remember that clear as day. Oh, someone posted up some screenshots uh, that they took of the trailer, and I'm seeing um, the one with all the Apex ones. Let's see, Godzilla sighting, Godzilla attack number 3, connected between Godzilla and Apex question mark. Apex facility. Some of those I can't read. Godzilla attack. Attack damage 1.2 million, 23 injured. What's next? Apex facility, government building, water something. That's about all I can actually see. Antarctica, a no-go zone for tourists. Well, no shit. There's the Mudo paper on the bottom. I just noticed that where Bryan Cranston character's name had at the beginning of that film.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, back to Kong. And Robert Armstrong's character, Carl Denham, I think in some ways is supposed to be kind of based off of Marion C. Cooper.
I'm not sure about the personality.
Well, not entirely, no.
Yeah. But as far as the interest of doing, making movies with animals and all that, yeah, you can see a similarity between the two. Man, it's been basically almost 8 years since I last watched this movie, and I couldn't quite remember seeing this entire scene.
I've seen this movie enough times to where, yeah, this is one I always seem to remember. And if you watch too, Peter Jackson's Kong right there in Times Square, I do believe, like that Chevrolet and that Pepsodent
Mm-hmm.
advertisements, I do believe those um, shown in that Times Square part of Jackson's Kong.
I wouldn't be a bit surprised. And then, of course, that whole Yellow Taxi Corp. We see that in the 2005 Kong movie.
Yeah,
And all those soup lines.
some say the original Scream Queen right here. What do you think an R-rated version of this film would look like? You think like Carl Denham would pull out a shiv and just gut the guy right there on the sidewalk or something?
Or a shank. But it's also funny that comparing both the original version here and the 2005 one, how they did that whole Apple scene and stuff to connect or make them similar. It's sort of nice to see that, especially in the
Yeah,
2005
and
one.
yeah, and that's one of the things that I love about that film is that it is in many ways, a almost verbatim remake. Of course, Jackson, what he ended up doing, he incorporated a scene that was shot for this film but not included, that insect pit. Um, so incorporated other character moments kind of within the first hour of the film. Um, not going to be a popular thing for a lot of people, and I think I definitely talked about it 8 years ago, and I think I've talked about it a couple times since then. Is while I love this film an awful lot, um, I still like Peter Jackson's Kong better. I know this is the first and all that, um, but I think his Kong film better characters. The characters are more fleshed out. The characters here, by and large, are one dimensional. Some at best maybe become two dimensional, but not for long. This film was just a little over 2 years ago. I showed my son Lincoln this during Christmas of 2019, and that was the first time again in like maybe 6-7 years I had seen it. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, this is still a good, fun film. But I thought I was reminded that the character work in this film is really not that good. It just isn't. And I think that's something that you just have to, not to say that makes the movie bad. It's not. It's still a fun film. For a
Mm-hmm.
film that's going on 88 years, it's still a lot of fun. I
Mm-hmm.
still love it an awful lot. But I think if I'm comparing it with the other Kong films, when I get to Peter Jackson's film, um, this one, in many respects, I think pales in comparison to that one.
Well, and then, of course, I think a lot of it deals with product of its time. I think that they
Oh yeah,
didn't know a
definitely.
whole lot, that they didn't go too deep into storytelling or development of
That's
the
not necessarily
characters.
true because there were other films at this time that did do good character work, but I think because of its because of how expensive it was and all that, and just kind of what they were wanting to do, I think they just kind of wanted to give you just enough to get the general idea.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, with the full on time that there is for this movie, if I can find the
An hour
total time.
45 minutes, not including the overture. At least I don't think it's including the overture.
I'm guessing it could be, but yeah, with the 2005 Kong movie, with that being, I think, a little over 3 hours or something. So yeah,
It's
there's
just
so yeah, there's going to be a lot of time for character development within that kind of movie. Whereas this one, that they just want to basically get to the point.
Did you ever see the um, extended cut of the 2005 film? With the extra 15 minutes attached?
Maybe let me go check, see if my version has that. Let me just double check. So yeah, just saw it here. Under the additional features, it includes both theatrical and extended versions.
Have you seen it though?
Um, I don't remember, but we could have. My thinking is that we could have potentially when we did a commentary on this movie many
We
years
didn't.
ago.
I don't think so because I showed Lincoln that when I showed him that film back in like June of last year, and we did the Ultimate Edition one because I bought that one 3 or 4 years ago and had not brought that one out until I showed it to him. And yeah, like I think really all the extended footage is on the island because you get like a Styracosaurus attack scene. You also get like kind of an eel attack scene.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then like a few other smaller tidbits as well on the island. But the Styracosaurus and that eel attack are kind of the bigger highlights of that extended footage.
Yeah. I'm not entirely sure if I did see it or not because it's been many years since I've last watched this movie. But I wonder if the 4K version of the film they should also have it. Let me just check. Come on, mouse. There we go.
Cute little monkey. It's kind of funny. They got him tied up with like a piece of twine there. That little monkey probably could chew right through that.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's just like a little flimsy string the way it looks.
I do like Robert Armstrong. I think he's a good actor. He acts, at least with this character, and I'm sure it's probably just how it's written. I don't know how Robert Armstrong was outside of the two Kong films in some of his other pictures, but he comes off very bombastic and hyper. It's kind of fun.
Let's see here, King Kong.
Think I'm going to fall for your dame? Well, you are a man, aren't you? Swooning over her.
Ah, darn. The 4K Kong isn't available in my area, but closest one is 6 miles away.
Just order it. You might end up actually saving money anyways. You got Prime.
Yeah. Well,
Amazon's got everything.
Well, I'm also looking at getting a couple Ultraman Blu-rays.
Ultraman Leo's coming out in a couple months. Taro recently came out.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at getting both Ace and Taro.
I sent you the Ace DVD collection I had, right?
Yeah, but like I
I
mentioned, I just want the nicer version. Keep
I
it
don't. Have you
consistent.
looked at the DVDs I sent you?
Of Ace?
Yeah.
No, I've actually been wanting to, but just haven't had the chance to.
Check out the subtitle stuff. See how they come through because God knows Mill Creek won't listen to me and change the color of their subtitles. I asked, because he started watching Ultraman Taro, Tim Bean, and I asked him. I kind of knew what the answer was, but I thought I'd ask anyways, just hoping and praying maybe Mill Creek would listen to us on this podcast. And I'm like, well, of course he didn't. But the color of the subtitles, and he goes, yeah, they're white still. And I'm just like, yeah.
But when it comes to those sort of DVDs, I may have an inkling that it could be yellow.
Yeah, because I had the Return of Ultraman DVDs, and they had yellow subtitles,
Mm-hmm.
which I was very grateful for because I'm like, oh, holy shit, I can read these.
For me, either way, I can go either way because, uh, like a lot of the anime subtitles or TV shows I watch, most of them are subtitle, and most of them have the white with the black outline.
Yeah, I mean, even that would help. Now with Skull Island, and I know this is, a fairy tale, and I'm thinking too much into it, but you have this island, it's yay size, and it has, um, a giant gorilla, and in this film, anyways, dinosaurs. In order to sustain something like that, first and foremost, how did that island survive the mass extinction event 65 million years ago? And not only that, in order to preserve that kind of life on an island that size, wouldn't weather patterns have to be as such to where they are just completely freakish? And no, and I said that earlier, but it's just like, freakish to be able to sustain that sort of life because, um, when it came to the dinosaurs in terms of their size, a lot of scientists have found ample evidence to suggest that the oxygen level was a lot higher than, which kind of helped, to make them bigger.
Well, not only the
And
oxygen levels, but carbon dioxide levels as well, as making everything nice and warm, making that
right.
humid climate and everything.
Well, like I was saying too, like with Skull Island, like the weather patterns would have to be absolutely freakish in order to help sustain that. And then in this movie in particular, well, and then I guess even in Jackson's film too, like you have so many different like dinosaur and other types of animal life.
And
Skull
exotic
Island,
plants.
I think barely shows up as like a little speck on a map. You have all this different life on that small island. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, there's not
Yeah.
enough. I mean, I know I'm thinking way too much, but I'm just kind of wondering because I've never heard anybody explain this before. The closest we ever got was in Skull Island. They had that. Well, and it follows this film and the '76 film, where there's that fog and stuff, and in the Skull Island, it was kind of like a large storm cloud encasing it as well. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe that had something to do as well. But
Yeah.
something I've thought about from time to time. It's just like in order to sustain that life and all that, like so much would have to take place
Mm-hmm.
and happen.
Yeah, it's just probably best left for
Oh,
another
I know.
discussion.
I have no answer. I just am bringing it up.
Or just need to
With
find
it.
time to actually take a look into it.
I'm sure other people have asked that, and I'm sure there are probably a few theories out there.
Well, I wouldn't doubt it. And there's probably some specific blog out there that's
I'm gonna
dedicated
see if
to it.
there is something out there. Let's see here.
So right now
Skull
they're going
Island.
through the fog and everything here.
Let's see. Is how is Skull Island able to? I guess how do I want to phrase this? How is Skull Island able to sustain dinosaurs? We'll just try that. Forum on DVD Talk some person hasn't. I'm just like, okay, well, that's definitely BS. Oh, here's a Quora thing. Let's see what this one. In the King Kong film, how were the dinosaurs and the prehistoric creatures able to survive from the prehistoric timeline Skull Island? Let's take a look at some of the answers here.
And then, of course, right now they've got out of the fog here and discovered Skull Island here. And trying to figure out if there's any potential life on the island there. Because you can see the giant wall.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I think in the 2005 version, I think that they had the whole village and everything sort of well into the Skull Island there, whereas this one's more on the outer edges, I
Oh,
think.
no. The one in 2005, like, you talk about outer edges. The one in 2005 is way on the outer edge because you know how jagged that version of Skull Island was. Uh, like the houses and stuff were like built on stilts and all that in that one.
Well, that and some of them were stone built, or possibly could have been carved into the stone. It's been a while since I last watched it, so.
So, like on this Quora thing, an answer one person had was that in the 30s they believed that dinosaurs were evolutionary dead ends, and they thought cold weather and mammals brought about their extinction. Thought that even though dinosaurs living in a remote location was ridiculous, they thought it wasn't entirely out of the realm of possibility that they could live on like a remote island. And then another person wrote, they had three potential answers. He writes that it was a place that somehow escaped time, which I'm like, no, that makes no sense. It was
Yeah.
guarded by some strange creature with special powers. No, because we've never heard or seen anything about that. And then
Yeah.
this one, basically what we talked about a bit earlier, the permanent storm that covered the island was no ordinary storm. It could have acted as a shield, but has weakened over time to be able to let helicopters pass through. I do think, that storm probably had something to do with it.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, the magical creature things, like, there's no lore or anything of the sort that we've heard of in the Kong universe.
It would just be weird too, because it would almost kind of act like a god. Like it would never.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it would attack these ships or something like that if it got close enough, I'm sure.
Yeah. And with this universe, it's more ground based. There wasn't anything as far as bringing some sort of supernatural phenomena into the Kong universe.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole village scene compared with this one in 2005, they're just night and day. Where
Oh, yeah.
like this one just has that more than normal um, native tribe,
Stereotypical idea of.
yeah, of these indigenous people. That's the word I was wanting to get out. But yeah, just kind of geared more towards that. Whereas the other one, it just seemed like that they were just sort of stuck and just sort of went completely insane in that
Yeah,
regard.
like my biggest complaint of the Peter Jackson film is the depiction of the I almost said Faro Island, of the Skull Island natives.
Yeah,
On the one level, I do think if you live on a place like that with, a giant gorilla and all these dinosaurs and other ferocious, large creatures potentially coming at you. Yeah, like, um,
I couldn't
but at
hear
the
that.
same, that's okay. um, but at the same time, though, I thought making them like these making the natives themselves so like I mean really way out there psychologically, and then also very violent individuals as well, I thought was taking it just a bit too far. Like I thought that was never really cared too much for.
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, like that's really only my main criticism of that film is sort of the depiction of the natives.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, we've been found out.
I always think of Carl Weathers when I see that guy. He just kind of reminds me of Carl Weathers, just with a bigger fro.
Or it just reminds me of the Faroe Island chief.
That too. Well, you know how much, Tomoyuki Tanaka and all those people loved this Kong. And, they were wanting to do King Kong for the longest time, then they finally got the licensing and be like, you guys did all right, but your Kong suits were a disaster.
I would say mainly the Con Escapes one, because I can at least see them trying to go more towards the original version. Because as you can see on the front cover on the screen there, that they were trying to go gear towards that version, but the parents just they didn't quite execute it well, to be honest.
Yeah, the King Kong Escapes version is definitely the superior one of the two, which isn't saying much because the bar was already incredibly low after 1962. But it is a big improvement. But that suit in and of itself showed its deficiencies when it was in the ocean during, those few moments. And it's just like, oh, this looks worse than the other suit did. The other suit took water better than this one. That one in King Kong Escapes, it shrank basically down to Nakajima-san's, body, size and all that, whereas the 62 one didn't do that. So it's just like, holy shit, guys, you can't do anything right.
Yon to Pharaoh.
Malo. I don't think we've done that one yet.
Let me check our website, see if we have.
I'm checking on my list. It's going to be quicker if I do it this way.
Okay.
I don't think any of these Kong films it's really mentioned what he does with the female sacrifices, does it? I think the closest we get to is 2005 again, where I think he like eats them because we see Kong is running around Skull Island. They come across a kind of like a bed of human bones at one point.
Yeah, when he was carrying her into his cave there.
Yeah, like
and they had like six.
One,
because like in the 2005 version when we saw the pile of skeleton bones and everything, that they had the similar necklace on them that she wore.
Oh, that's right, yeah. 76 I don't think touched. I know this one doesn't. King Kong versus Godzilla.
So have we or have we not? What? I didn't quite hear you there.
Oh, I'm like checking to see if I had my mute on. No, we haven't.
Okay, good.
We haven't done a number of the other ones too. Like we haven't done the 76 one, and we haven't done King Kong Lives. We did Skull Island in late 2009, not 2009, 2019. Um, we're doing this one now. Kong either. Gotta pull this thing up again.
Yeah, speaking of which, did we do the 2005 version? I could have sworn that we did.
Because we did because we were at our folks when we did
Yeah,
that one.
yeah.
I was
That's
like on spring. No, I was out of school then. Duh. Um, or like in late March or early April or something,
yeah.
and we did it. Loading, loading, loading. I guess we did do Son of Kong. I don't remember doing that one.
Let me check the website.
Kong. There we go. I just missed it. Yeah, we haven't done that one.
Oh, okay.
Remember, because I knew the 2005 and Skull Island for sure we did. I
Mm-hmm.
remember both of those. Yes, sir. Now leave me alone.
Can't you see here? I'm busy. Yeah, we did Colin Skull Island September 7th.
Yeah, because what we wanted to do at that time, because at that time, King of the Monsters recently on home video.
Mm-hmm.
So we wanted to go through the MonsterVerse. So we did, I think, Skull Island first, because I think we did it by timeline.
Yeah, we
So we
did.
did Skull Island at 2014 and then King of the Monsters.
Yeah.
We did one a month. Like in September, we did Skull Island, and 2014 in October, and then King of the Monsters in November, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
At least we're staying a little bit more on track here in terms of topics. Whereas when we did the '98 Godzilla film here a couple weeks ago, we were all over the place.
Yeah, the only con movie I, that I'm seeing that we did commentary wise outside of this movie was King Kong Escapes, and that was back on the 1st of July 2013.
Oh, that one too. Yeah, because we had what was his name?
Joe.
Joe. Yeah, like he really loved the movie, and I remember him wanting to do a commentary with us on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we've done what, 3 Kong films? I forgot about King Kong Escapes. Did that actor like really speak that way, or is they're just kind of like, no, this is how you're gonna talk?
The Chinese guy.
Yeah, I forget the character's name. I would know it once I heard it or saw it.
I'm sure he was probably. That's how he actually speaks.
33 here. Everybody on deck. Oh, the budget for this thing. Let's see. Cast. DBD DBD doo. DBD DBD doo. DBD DBD doo. At least on uh, uh, Wikipedia here, the guy who plays the native chief is actually getting higher bill than some of these other guys.
Really?
Yeah. So on Wikipedia, they don't have as extensive of a cast list as I thought they would, which is kind of odd. Let me go elsewhere here. Let's go to IMDb.
Hold on, let me get my pants on here.
IMDb, the score people have given it 7.9 out of 10. Bastards.
I think it should be higher than
Second link.
that.
See full cast list here. Reporter, native child, native reporter, member of cruise ship. Member of ship's crew, warrior reporter, member of ship's crew. This character has a name. Because I've heard of it before. I just can't think of it. Old woman in line at mission, really? The old woman in line and the police officer gets a credit here. Gunman. New Yorker, a random New Yorker, a ballyhooer gets a... My gosh. Okay, IMDb at times suck too, and this is one of those times.
You didn't see anything on. You didn't see anything on Wikipedia.
No, you check it out. Like they only list like maybe 7-8 people, and like I said, the native chief actually gets a credit on there. Noble Johnson, the actor.
Oh, not 1922. I want 1933.
1922. Yes.
Victor
What
Wong.
an impressive. Victor Wong?
Yeah, that's his real name. He plays as Charlie.
Charlie, there we go. I thought it started with a C.
And I found it on Wikipedia.
By the way, how's my feed coming in? I'm doing Wi-Fi only again.
It's pretty good. Sometimes when you talk, at times it sort of like cuts out your feed of when you're talking.
Let me add the Ethernet cable again. See if where's my cable?
But yeah, this Victor Wong guy, he was born September 24th, 1906, and was born in L.A. there. So he's full on American.
So they're like, you're gonna speak like this, what we believe to be stereotypical Chinese man. Jeez. Product of its time for sure.
And he basically was in the industry from 1914 to 1942, so about 30 years, and passed away on April 7th, 1972 at the age of 65.
Wow. This is an impressive set. I mean, gosh, I would like to do. I saw there on Wikipedia the budget was like $672,000. I want to see what that's like in today's dollars. Let's see here, inflation calculation.
But yeah, we'd like to know where exactly this whole wall was erected, because it wouldn't have to. It could have been inside a studio.
In 1933, I purchased an item for $672,000. And then in 2020, that same item would cost. Really? It would cost over $13 million?
What? Check the box office, which is $5.3 million.
5,300,000.
But yeah,
I did that wrong.
13 million budget. That doesn't make sense.
I must 5 million. The 5 million, it would be in today's, it would be 105.5 million. It seems right, but I feel like both of those should be higher.
Yeah.
Let me check out a different calculator here. Okay, enter the amount of money. 672,000. Year.
And here we get the first appearance of Kong.
No, they're saying the same thing. Like a little over 13.5 million.
Hmm.
So it must be right. Very cool, like large
Animatronic.
animatronic there.
And as
And if I'm
well
not mistaken,
and as well as the claymation quote unquote version of Kong himself.
well, yeah, and their ability to like those trees there that fell, those were actual tree props, and to match them up with the armature of
Mm-hmm.
Kong is incredible too.
Yeah.
Willis O'Brien, man, like he was a master at this thing.
And that's sort of the inspiration where you get what's his face that does all those famous animatronic films in
Ray
the
Harryhausen.
yeah, yeah, because he was inspired by
He
all of this.
was his O'Brien was Harryhausen's tutor or
Mm-hmm.
mentor, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Kong, isn't he supposed to be like 50 feet in this one?
I would say, yeah, between
Because I'm trying to remember if they
between
said
40
something in here.
40 to 60, but I think, or maybe between 30 to 60. But I'd say
Because,
a lot of people have stated that he's on average around 50, but just the way it looks like in that scene with him carrying Faye there, that it seems he's more or less between 30 to 35 feet.
because with the animatronic head, foot, and hand that they made for this, I'm almost wondering, like, even if he was supposed to be 50 feet, it almost seems to me like those animatronics, don't get me wrong, they are very well done, but it seems like even for that size, they're maybe a little too big for, a gorilla that's 50 feet tall.
They're maybe a little too small. Because when you see the one shot of the animatronic version of Khan, where he has one of the tribal men in his mouth, there, he just seems a little too small to be
Yeah, I
50
guess
feet.
yeah. Now this is where the movie begins to really take off.
Oh yeah.
You have what are we? What's the time stamp on this here? Yeah, kind of like what I figured. Like basically, if you were to start at the moment of the sacrifice, like roughly 45 minutes into the film, is when the rest of this thing takes off. So you basically have like an hour, nonstop action here.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Oh, see, and then look at this. Like that footprint,
It
I
can't
think,
be
is
a
smaller than the animatronic one that they make that we're going to see in a little while.
yeah, and with that size of the footprint, it can't be made by a creature that would be potentially 50 foot. Stegosaurus.
Cool. A Stegosaurus that somehow is like psychotic.
It's like every time I see that Stegosaurus, for some reason, it reminds me of the Planet of the Dinosaurs movie.
I was thinking about that this morning. I was like, you know what movie I haven't watched in a while? Planet of Dinosaurs.
I remember you and I watched that so many times when we were a kid, and
well, and
just the way how that was made, I was sort of was scared.
Well, that T-Rex and the synthesizer music that they have in there, it is pretty darn creepy.
Yeah.
But in 2004, I found a DVD of that, and I was watching that thing several times each week for like 2 months.
Jeez.
Like I kind of had a resurgence in it. Like I was watching that thing a couple times each week.
Jeez. But yeah, that was a creepy movie.
Well
Seeing that when I
done,
was a
though.
kid, yeah.
That T
Especially seeing
Rex. Oh my gosh.
especially seeing those scenes with the really long legged spiders and everything.
Oh yeah, that was creepy. I always felt bad um, for the dinosaurs that got killed by that T Rex because like that Stegosaurus he picks it up by the friggin' head, and you hear the crunching sound, and he
Yeah,
like twists his head,
yeah.
and then later on, like an Allosaurus or some smaller bipedal predator, he grabs it by like the top part of the head, and you hear the crunch. And then
Yeah.
later on, like right at the end, you have a creature that's like the Rhedosaurus from Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. He grabs it by the neck, and you hear the crunching, and he throws it down, and like that other Allosaurus creature, grabs it by the head, and the creature's like it's screaming, and the T-Rex is like moving his jaw, and you hear and the blood. I'm just like, as a kid, I loved that stuff. I'm like, all right, Bobcat, you go get that rabbit and tear that motherfucker apart. And now I'm an adult, and I'm like, holy shit, like that's gruesome. Like,
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Maybe one of these days we should commentate on that.
I would love to commentate on a lot of those films. I have a ton of those films.
For me, I just need to see if there's available.
I have one here that I know you've seen, but for you, it's been a very long time. And I saw this, I think, last summer.
Is it The Last
It was the
Dinosaur?
first time. I've had that for like 5 years, and I've seen that. But yes, I do have that one.
Can't quite see.
Whoops, I'm trying to move it here.
Dinosaurs. Yeah, you mentioned about that before.
Dinosaurs.
See,
Dinosaurs.
Planet of the Dinosaurs.
Netflix released that here a couple years ago on DVD.
Yeah, see, Prime. It's on Prime Video. $2 to rent or $5 to buy, or you can get the DVD version for $10. Oh, and looks like Rift Tracks did a thing on Planet of Dinosaurs.
Yeah, I do remember that. It's like, you guys got to just leave that stuff alone. Jeez Louise. Leave my films alone.
Poseidon Rex? What the heck? We believe in dinosaurs, and it has a poster art of dinosaurs and then Noah's Ark in the background. Oh my god. But yeah, I remember on this DVD version of that specific cover where it's like all drawn, that poster art drawn.
It's like they're on top of an alien planet that
Yeah,
like has these weird giant vines, and you see Jupiter or something in the background.
Yeah, and like all these muscular like guys, and then really sexy looking female characters on it.
Let me show you the cover that I got. By the way, here's another herbivore that is overly aggressive here. This one here is pretty cool, but it's slightly misleading. But it's in the actual film.
Yeah, I've remember seeing that version a few or so years ago when I rummaged around Amazon.
It's from Good Times DVD, but they don't make this one anymore. But Cheesy Flicks now owns the license for it.
Yeah, I haven't seen the cover for that. The only one that's different that I've seen is when the T-Rex is going towards his cave, having one of the people in his mouth there.
I bet it's Michael. I do remember some of the characters too.
Yeah, it looks like it has the blue uh like the blue outfit.
That's Michael.
But yeah, see all the guys here that they were on the raft, and I forget what the specific dinosaur was. I don't know if it was a brontosaurus or something. It looks like a brontosaurus.
Oh yeah, it's a brontosaurus.
And then chasing after all these guys.
Again, the stop motion and just the detail on this thing is really cool. Maybe Skull Island too, like, is a freakish island. Like, maybe because of even though it's a decent sized island, obviously, it's still relatively small to hold all these variety of species that even the herbivores, are just like overly aggressive
Yeah.
just for survival purposes.
Mm-hmm.
Here.
The one of the things that I've been baffled about in this scene specifically is that I don't know why that guy just decided to climb up the tree when the brontosaurus can just easily grab him like he just did right there.
Well, and I don't know how easy it was for him to do that because I looked at that tree and I'm like, the only branch you could grab was near the top where he was. So
Yeah.
I can't climb a tree without some sort of help with other branches. Now, with King Kong Escapes, Lincoln and I saw that here a couple weeks ago in Kong's battle with Gorosaurus in that film. It's very much an homage to what we're getting here.
Yeah.
It's still amazing, 1933, there was rear projection, but just also the means of somehow blending in, stop motion effects and any other effects to make like Fay Ray come out of Kong's hands there and sit in that tree. And it's amazing.
Yeah. And here we get the one of the famous scenes of him trying to topple this log bridge with all the guys on it.
He doesn't. That's an actual tree. He doesn't want them around. Can you imagine though, like
You're breaking up.
standards, some of the violence we've seen, that probably.
Hello?
Hello?
You're breaking up there.
That's weird because I put in the Ethernet cord like 10 minutes ago.
Why don't you try to unplug?
Is that any better?
Now it corrected.
That's so strange. You would think the Ethernet cord would have helped.
Yeah. You'd think it'd have been quite the opposite. Who you think you are, bitch?
This is one thing, even as a kid, when I first saw this movie, I'm like, considering Jack is not that far from where Kong is, Kong should have been able to grab him.
Yeah.
The precursor to Rambo right here. That's a lizard. A lizard with no back legs. Figure that one out.
Yeah, I would like to know what the reason for that is, because we don't even see it again after this.
No, because it did. Well, maybe the T-Rex is good and Kong is bad. You ever think about that? Well, now you need to think about it. Kong, I want to kill you, but
Stay right there. I'm coming back for you.
as I get older, I feel more and more bad for like the dinosaurs and stuff. Because they're just living and Kong's being a neighborly jerk.
Like Ultraman at times.
You're a monster and you miss your home? Up yours, I'm gonna kill you.
Or just beat the living daylights of you.
Yeah. Seriously, dude, I just want to go home.
No, I'm punishing you for leaving your home.
There's a like dumb. Can you delete that comment? Is that someone trying to sell us something?
We're at.
I speak Spanish. Just look at minute 3.
I'm not sure. It doesn't have anything selling or anything.
No.
Because I know I deleted one of the comments last time that was trying to sell something.
You like lip gloss? Buy my crap. It's amazing. Like, this is a decently long fight, and I wonder, I'm kind of biting his eye there. Ew. But I wonder kind of how long it took to put this whole thing together.
Or just doing all these animatronics overall. Like how long that process took.
Yeah, I remember, and I have it on a couple of my Ray Harryhausen DVDs. There was a documentary where he kind of talks about his career. And I think it might have been like Jason the Argonauts, where he had like 6 or so skeletons he had to animate. Boy, gruesome. And he had talked about how just like a little bit of segments could take virtually all day to film. And he would say, I found out I would have to like by each skeleton. So that way, when I came in the next day, I knew what each one was going to do next so I can continue from there, because otherwise I would forget.
Yeah. Yeah, you just have to make sure that no one even touches that stuff while you were gone for the day.
Can you imagine? I would be so pissed if someone, like even by accident, like bumped a table or whatever and like stuff tipped over. And just,
or like the was it the Leica studio that's been doing some of those animatronic films lately with, was it Kubo, and I forget some of the other known movies too that they've done, but yeah, they also do the stop motion stuff, and they have these entire sets just full of this stuff. It's like, how can like how can you just sort of leave that stuff be when you're gone for the day, and just making sure that no one has access to these areas when you're gone, so that they wouldn't potentially bump into this stuff.
Yeah, even if it was an accident, I would have. If someone screwed it up, I would be like, "You're never going to work again. Not even pumping gas. I'm gonna make sure your life is ruined."
Jeez.
birds already coming in. Actually, this T-Rex isn't dead. I think what we're going to see here is it's still at least breathing, but I'm sure it's going to eventually die, of course.
Yeah, I think when they walked by it, I know it was sort of the same thing with the Stegosaurus when his tail was still moving.
Breathing there.
Yeah, you can see it moving there.
Its jaw broken. It's eventually gonna die though, because with a broken jaw, what are you gonna do to feed yourself?
Yeah.
It's not gonna be able to eat, bud. A T-Rex can't do that. He would still have to chew and swallow. You need both jaws for that.
Yeah, just grind up stuff and sip it up with a straw.
I might as well eat dirt.
Or just drink my own blood. That's gushing out.
Salty. That guy almost looks like Jack Black there, right behind Robert Armstrong.
Oh my god, Jack Black's a time traveler.
I'm connected to this movie and the Peter Jackson movie. It's true. They add some random birds and pterosaurs every once in a while.
From what it looked like, I thought I saw some strain for those birds when they were going along.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it. String. It's not really a good movie if you can see the strings.
And it's pretty neat on Khan's layer here that you can sort of see some of the layers that they put on top of that particular scene.
Foreground here, you got like a bubbling oozy mass. I think the steam was added post.
Yeah, basically the foreground with that bubbling substance there, like that entire foreground is post. You can tell. It's Manda!
Out to get her.
Manda's here!
It's funny how a plesiosaur acts like a snake. That'd be funny if he shoved its own tail down its throat.
Sort of looked like he was doing that. Think you can choke me, buddy?
Yes. I'm a plesiosaur, but I act like a snake.
Well, buddy boy, not today.
Well, look at it. It just wraps itself around like.
I'm gonna do this to you.
Can you imagine getting your head like slammed up against rock?
Oh god. No.
Way to go. In the R-rated version, he probably would have like, even after he smashed its head, he would have grabbed it like by mid or base neck and just ripped it off the body.
Well, that sort of reminds me of the the '70s version with with that
Oh
giant
yeah,
snake.
that movie, boy. I mean, I don't want to get too much into it here because we talked about it like 6-ish years ago when we discussed the film, and at some point we'll do a commentary on that one. But I know a lot of people like that movie, and more power to you. But first and foremost, I don't see people like that movie. I mean, sure, the Kong suit and all that is incredible, and Jeff Bridges is cool, and so is Charles Grodin. But everything else about that movie is, I'm like, this is garbage. Like,
A lot of people say it the other way around when it comes to Kong Lives.
yeah, I mean, that was a cheaper film, and I can see why people would think that. Kong Lives, though, I think has more substance to it. No,
I also like how
it's
they
sad.
I also like how they did sort of like the matte screen sort of thing behind this animatronic Kong.
Yeah. Well, again, how they're able to blend like Fay Ray's, like you can sort of see, like even with the DVD, I can see it, and I'm sure you probably can see it on the Blu-ray. Like around Faye,
Yeah,
like her background and everything is slightly lighter and
yeah,
fuzzier, but it still matches up incredibly well with the background of the armature.
mm-hmm,
And it's still really cool, though, how they were able to do that.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I'm just seeing it here on the visual effects where it sort of cuts off his arm just
Mm-hmm.
right where the body was. You can barely see some of the spacing there.
Yep.
I just realized that. And it's also the same there with that character.
Jack.
Yeah. It's like the similar thing.
Well, they had to create, the pteranodon feet here too for that scene.
Mm-hmm.
Take her off and eat her. That pteranodon never stood a chance.
Nope.
Surprised it puts up the kind of fight that it does.
It's like I don't know how it lasts this long. Should have been a few seconds.
Kong could have sneezed and the thing would have evaporated. Like Thanos snapping the Infinity Gauntlet.
Ah, true. Half the population on the island disappears.
Well, that's why he's looking. The way she's dangling off of his neck there, it's just like, wouldn't you be choking Jack there?
Well,
You're
that
like,
and then not having much room
yeah.
there because it looks like she was about to fall. And I'd like to know how much it was from between them and the ground itself there.
Well, and right there, Fay Ray's character, the little doll that slammed into it was like right up against that rock
Yeah.
there. fall, and those characters had to have fallen like a couple 100 feet. I think it like if you would have stiffened yourself up and like try to get your feet to land in first, you would be able to survive that. But otherwise, boy, I don't know.
Well,
Hey guys, I got some good news and some bad news. The good news is I found Anne. The bad news is most of her body's left back here, but here's her head and she still talks. Hi, boys.
you're like, nope, 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 nope.
And then Carl Denham's like, ah, throw that thing away. Like, it hits the bottom of Jack's hands and the head goes flying over the wall.
Oh, man.
Demented version of King Kong.
Your R-rated version of Khan.
The dummy version. Dude, I don't know, bud. I don't own a gorilla. I've never messed with one.
The only thing we know is that they fling poo.
And they eat it. That's a true story.
Yep. Mountain gorillas. We've seen it on Nat Geo one time, you remember?
It wasn't Nat Geo. It was Kodak. Those Kodak animals. I forget exactly, but it was by Kodak from the public library years ago. All the time.
But yeah, I can still remember that.
I gotta go see if I can find those Kodak video moments. I remember that because they would always advertise like other animals stuff. Kodak video moments animals. Let's just see what I can find here. Well, that's not what I'm looking for. Let's see. No one has them. Kodak.
You checking Amazon, right?
No, I'm checking YouTube just to see if
Oh.
I can find like the Kodak animal documentary. Let's try that. That's probably going to give me a better idea. 1920s film on beaver dams. There's a bunch of new ones, but that's not what I'm looking for.
I remember one time we watched one of those beaver things, but it's now like the 20s.
This guy's got a cobra head in his mouth. Oof.
Yeah.
Let me see. Kodak animal documentary 1980s. I think those were maybe made in the 80s.
And then here we
Listen to it either.
Here we get Khan breaking through the door.
He's mad.
He's just not mad, he's pissed.
Don't you think that natives, though, after all this, anybody who came back to the island would have every right to kill every white man that sets foot on that island? Because look at what they did to their homes. They let Kong out, and
Well, first off, they kidnapped Fay Ray, so
yeah, but it was to appease their god. The R-rated version would have that baby smashed, but get over you know, for a movie that's pushing 90, just to blend in rear projection with actual actors and the armature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can see that with that Travelman and the animatronic, it doesn't seem like he would be 50 feet. Ah, my butt! You stabbed my butt! I
Dumb
kill you!
house.
Did you do that to me, house? I kill you!
You see that person dart out of that window? It. Oh, you're gonna have to, when we're done with this, you're gonna have to go back and watch that. Like the little armature of that person goes zoom darting out the window like it was a lawn dart. What a way to go.
Why'd you do that for? Now you're making me sleepy.
I do though in the 2005 one, like the fact that it took multiple bottles of, I think it was ether in that movie, to take Kong out in that one.
Yeah, I think so. Whereas this one, it just only
Sleeping.
took one.
Yeah. We'll teach him fear.
Kong, the
Engelhorn
eighth wonder of
pulls
the
out his
world.
pistol and he points it at Carl Denham and says, "No, you're not. You're not taking that thing anywhere."
Were you nuts? Yes!
Carl's like, "We'll teach him fear." It's like, well, no, he's going to teach you fear because you're going to be sued at the wazoo after his rampage through your city. Because that's where we find Carl Denham at the beginning of Son of Kong.
Yep.
Like this.
Where am I sitting? You're sitting right there, ma'am. Chug it.
We got enough of gorillas in New York. Well, no one said we had enough beaches. I can't believe we're nearing the end already.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like it.
Time flies when you're having fun and imagining R-rated version of the film you're watching.
It's like if we were watching Peter Jackson's version, we'd probably be at the beginning part of the island right now.
We know we would be like a half hour into it. That's Mirror Man.
What's your address, ma'am?
In other words, the way Carl Denham's talking about it, Kong was safe until he met Beauty, and it's like, well, aren't you then implying that women get you killed? Is that what you're implying?
Well,
Is that the sort of message you want?
well, that's basically what he mentions at
It
the
always
end of the
reminds
film.
me of that line Mickey gives Rocky in the first Rocky movie. He's like, "Hey kid, you lay off that pet shop dame." Well, yeah, I really like this girl. Well, let her train you. It seemed to me like more guys died than that. I should go through and actually do a body count.
Man, it looks like just with that tuxedo, it looks like pants are just riding up the crotch there.
It looks like his vest that he's wearing is too small.
Yeah. But of course, that's how it was back in the day, so.
As cool as that, animatronic head and stuff is, it is pretty goofy at points too. And this was one of those moments where
and two is not like his teeth are gonna be like all perfect fucking.
well, and then like you see I don't know if they just felt like they needed to do it because they spent the money on it or they thought it would make it more lifelike, but the eyes would always be moving around and then the eyebrows would always be going up and down too, and it just, it's like no one or nothing does that.
Well, if you act up like it, then maybe.
Yeah, well, maybe you hopped up on methamphetamines, sure. It'd be funny if members of that photojournalist pool ended up getting in fights over position and
No, I'm in front. No, I'm in front. F you! I'm gonna take you out, motherfucker.
Your mother. Start doing your mother jokes.
It'd been funny, with Jack, with there's like, hey, let's get down and dirty right here now.
Then Kong gets free and jumps down and smashes them. And you hear this like squishy pop noise.
Oh God.
Oh, geez.
Some of the weird, crazy thoughts that we come up with.
Oh dear, that guy about got thrown up against the building. I've never noticed that before.
I didn't even see what happened there.
The guy was like riding on the side of the car, like he was just standing like on the foot platform there, and then the smashed head on, and he just was like, "Whoa!" And like nearly got thrown to the building there.
Well, and then when Khan had that one guy in his mouth there and just threw him down on the pavement there, I wonder how that felt.
Let's do an experiment, Jason. You see Ghost Rider come in and he rides his motorcycle up the side of the building and takes his fire chain and whips up Kong. And
is Is that going to be the Nick Cage one?
Oh, of course, there's no other live action version at the moment. I have to say, this stuff is actually kind of funny when he's like picking up random women. Are you my love? Nope. Drop it.
Yeah, that would just be a crazy way to go like that.
Yeah, upside down on your head.
Yeah.
That's actually kind of funny though. They're like, oh my gosh, it's horrible. And Kong's right outside the window looking at him.
Peekaboo.
I win now. It's your turn to find me.
What do you think you're doing to my beauty?
Yeah, that's gonna stop him, Jack. Yeah, that's gonna stop him. And in fact, it came back and ricocheted and hit you. Wonderful job. Golf clap. Because he had chain. He was chained up. Yeah, I'm sure he does, but he can't.
And that's the one thing too. How can he climb up with her in one hand when he's only got one other hand available?
Gorillas and most apes, their feet are more like extra hands than our feet.
Well,
so.
yeah, but then it's like you only got. It's like you're going up vertically, and you only got one hand available, with one preoccupied. Hey, this is more believable than your other theory. Don't give me that shit. Not this time. You're not getting away from me.
Something awful. Like, he was at the side of the building there, okay? So, like, he picks her up and he's turning around, and, part of his hand is, like, over the ledge of the building there, right? As he's turning.
Yeah.
Turning, he accidentally loses grip, and she slides out. Can you imagine, like, Kong going, oh! Can you imagine? Like, he's already going on a rampage. Can you imagine what he's going to do after that?
Maybe.
It's kind of funny. When's the next train coming?
I hate trains.
Well, we hate you. Because he thinks it's probably a creature, so he's gonna just break it. This version of Kong, though, was taller than Jackson's. Jackson's, I think, was like 20, 25 feet, and it was, dwarfed. Like, it could swing on the tracks underneath, but it couldn't stand up and break the tracks like this one is doing.
Mm-hmm. Just get the like Texarkana audio of holy crap.
I found out a lot of people hated that. I'm like, how can you hate that?
Really?
Yeah, like a lot of people. I think probably because so many people love those movies, they don't like it when they make fun of it. I'm just like, come on, guys. You guys love Emmett T3K, and you guys know they're in on the joke. So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's like there's no harm in it.
I know it's just. I mean, I'm not a fan of the fact that Riff Tracks did a thing on the '98 Godzilla movie because I love that movie so much, but it's just like I don't lose sleep over it. I don't go out of my way to make a big deal out of it. It's fine. Oh, I gotta. Oh, thank God for mute button on these things. Man, that's like I've used this thing many times over like the last year or so that I've had them. Oh man, it's a lifesaver. Uh-oh.
I wish I had the cam on right now.
Ugh. Again, yeah, I'm so glad that I got a mute button on this thing.
And so now we're at the basically the finale of the film where Khan's
Hard to
famously
believe.
up on the Empire State Building here.
Hard to believe. It almost looked like that pilot. If you read his lips, it almost looked like the pilot said, "Shoot the girl." Jeez Louise.
And it looks like the material that the plane was built in too looked like it was pretty thin. Come at me!
That'd be funny if Kong was so angry he jumped out to try to smash one of those and didn't realize of course he jumped off the building and there's no way for him to recover and he just not only does he whiff at the plane but he plummets.
Well, it's sort of like the Peter Jackson version, but he vertically jumps
Yeah,
up
it's a
and
vertical jump. I love how that movie though too makes you they do a great job of character work with Kong too. They make you sympathize with him as well. Like that ending to that film is heartbreaking. This one here, just like with those dinosaurs on the island, uh, they make it seem like he's just this beast with nothing going.
yeah. Oh,
Hello, hello.
and it's like oh sort of what we mentioned too, or what you mentioned before, that there isn't a whole lot of character development when it comes to the original version, whereas the Peter Jackson version, that they had a lot of character development, not only for the human characters but for Khan as well.
Yeah, and I mean that's another reason too why I love that movie so much is that Kong just isn't this, like when you get not just with this film, but a lot of creature films, all the way up through like the 60s, 70s, maybe even the 80s, where they're just kind of portrayed as mindless brutes, you know? Um,
Mm-hmm.
to not only, I think, quote unquote, realistically portrays the gorilla,
Mm-hmm.
but Kong is the most important character of the film. And, I think it's appropriate to, to try to get to know that character.
Well,
Call me crazy.
basically, he's the title card.
Well, yeah. I mean, you feel kind of bad for him here because, you're seeing him get shot, but they don't do as good of a job throughout the course of the entire film of really portraying him as anything but brutish creature that just is going to smash everything in his path.
Mm-hmm.
Oof.
Yeah, just hitting that part. And going all the way down the side of the building there.
Oh. I would love to cover that Jackson film again, but we already did. I don't know. Maybe I'll do it as a solo or something.
Solo.
Life is like a hurricane living in Duckburg.
That's completely separate.
Oh. Hey, there goes Carl again, blaming women. I mean, seriously. I mean, you've been listening to some of the things he's been saying since they got back to New York. And that is the end of 1933's King Kong.
Why do you think that women killed him?
Because he says it was beauty that killed the beasts, that it wasn't the airplanes. I would, if I were a member of the press pool, I'd be like, no, Carl, you killed him. You brought him back here. You brought him back to civilization. What did you think was going to happen?
Well, I didn't know. Well, you should have.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, I know you would do that. Yeah, just kind of go into some general thoughts on the film, and then we can wrap up.
Yeah, it's your typical con film. The original. Well, I mean, most of the con films that we basically have seen have been basically built around this sort of version. But other than that, it's always good to at least see the original film, to be honest. And it's just sort of, just as an escapist sort of film, and it's something that you can enjoy nostalgically in a way, just seeing all these familiar faces that you probably have grown up to seeing if you've watched this movie countless times, if you're a Kong fan, to say. And the visual effects for this time period is just outstanding for what it is, and a lot of it still stands up pretty damn well, especially through this the DVD version on a 4K TV. A lot of it still stands out pretty good visually. And
you're watching the Blu-ray, I thought.
Yeah, I am, but on a 4K TV.
You were seeing DVD on the 4K.
Whatever.
It matters.
But yeah, as far as the character development, yeah, it would have been nice that if they could have improved that area a little bit, especially with him being the title of obviously the whole film. That's what it's all about. So with that, it's still a very good cult classic film in its own right.
Yeah, I still love this movie. And again, when we were near the beginning of this film and I was talking about how I prefer Peter Jackson's Kong over this, it's a preference. And again, look, all props to this film. If you didn't have this, Peter Jackson wouldn't have his own.
Nope.
And this is still a very good film. Like Jason talked about, the visual effects still stand the test of time, and this is a movie that's almost 90 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that tells you something. And we did inflation calculations earlier. We double checked our work because we were initially thinking something was off.
Yeah.
But no, the budget for a film like Kong in today's money is a little over 13.5 million in terms of its budget. And that's really small because most of your blockbuster special effects films anymore, you're looking at anywhere from like
100 million to 200.
you're looking at like, yeah, 80 to 200 some odd million, depending upon what it is you're wanting to do. I mean, that may barely come up on the radar, depending upon what modern movies you're comparing it to.
Yeah, like with that sort of money, you could make a Rocky movie out of that.
Well, yeah, the original Rocky cost just under $1 million,
Yeah.
and that was in '75. So, um, I do enjoy this film an awful lot. And as we talked about earlier, I do wish the character development was better. A lot of them are very one dimensional. Occasionally, you may get some two dimensions out of it. As I've gotten older and I've seen more of this film, I'm actually kind of shocked at how little of a role Fay Ray actually plays. She's
Yeah.
just there most of the time, doesn't have a ton of dialogue. So she spends probably more time screaming than anything else.
Yeah, and just thinking about that too, it just seems that she's just mainly one dimensional in that throughout the entire film, just her being the damsel in distress and
Right.
being the eye candy for Kong.
Yeah, and again, I don't have a problem with that because look, I'm a fan of quite a few schlocky films. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I mean, you talk about let's see, do I have one within reach here that I can point to? I know I have one. I just don't know if I can. No, it must be buried. So, yeah, I mean, I'm okay with that. But again, when I think about this film, I can't help but to think about Jackson's Kong, and then when I watch Jackson's Kong, I think about this one. I think it's hard to not think about the other film being one of those versions in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
This is still a very good film. It's fun. I think when you really put your mind, really think about the time it was produced, and you look at the effects work, and you look at how well a lot of that still stands up, I mean, you become really impressed and enthralled with just the ability of the effects to stand the test of time.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as the story, yeah, it's very simple. Nothing wrong with that. It is still a fun film. I still enjoy it. Like I said, this is the second time I've seen it in just a little over 2 years. Um, it really is.
Yeah.
It, so with that, we actually changed the date. Instead of February 6th, February 7th is our next podcast. We will be doing a commentary on Pacific Rim Uprising. That's a film I haven't seen in a little while. I'm actually looking forward to that. I've been wanting to watch
I have not
so.
seen that since when it came out in theaters. so it's been a couple of years.
After it came out on Blu-ray, I've seen the film I think twice. I do like it. It's not perfect, but yeah, we'll get into more of that here in a couple weeks. So instead of the 6th, which is on a Saturday, we're coming back on the 7th on a Sunday, and we're doing Pacific Rim Uprising. So join us for that. I think that's going to be a real fun one. And then let me just quickly pull up the thing here so I can give everybody an idea of what to expect down the road here.
Yeah, because I don't think we've only gone all the way to early March as far as our schedule goes.
Yeah. So after Pacific Rim Uprising on the 7th, on February 20th, we are getting back to Daimajin. We are going to do the return of Daimajin commentary. And then on March 7th, we're going to do Daimajin Strikes Back. And then so we're going to round out the Daimajin series.
And then I would say, assuming that after Daimajin Strikes Back on March 7th, we will be doing Godzilla vs. Kong.
No, because let's see here. 7th. We're going to end up doing. Actually, no, you're right, considering how everything. If we did it on the 6th, we'd be doing something on the 20th, but the 7th's on a Sunday. So we could do something on the 20th or 21st if you wanted. Do another commentary. We could squeeze another commentary. Let's think about it.
Yeah, let's talk it over.
But yeah, that's kind of what to expect, really, for like the next, month and a half.
Mm-hmm.
2 months, technically, minus the possibility of another commentary.
Yeah. So, do you have anything else before we wrap up?
Just want to say thank you so much for listening and/or watching us, and for this commentary of a classical film. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Yeah, and if you've missed out on our thoughts on the new trailer to the upcoming Godzilla vs. Kong film, we did that before we did a commentary earlier on the episode. So once we wrap everything up here, and maybe in a little bit when things get wrapped up as far as YouTube goes, rendering the video, just make sure to go back to the early parts of the episode and just see what our thoughts are on the trailer to Godzilla vs. Kong. So with that, thanks for watching, everyone, and tune in to February 7th for Pacific Rim Uprising. So take care, everyone. We'll see you next month.